maybe if I see someone run into this kitchen and I'm not sure whether they went here or this direction, I'm going to break all the doors down until I get one.
And she will fix the door by herself.
You know the problem? If you don't like that approach, then let's move to change the law. That's the only way. Let's move to amend the law if you don't want them to, because the law empowers them to do this. So if you don't want them to do this, let us clamor and change the law. That's the only solution to this.
Welcome to episode 25 of Reactions with Mr. Sal. Joining me today, as always, is Mr. Henry Okwa and Mr. Wale. We don't call your surname though.
Bakari, we know.
Mr. Wale Bakari. How you guys doing? What's been good? How was your week?
It was good. As usual, meet reaction from the news.
Okay. Nothing personal.
Henry
Okwa,
Good day.
how was your week?
Fine.
You were making so much noise behind the scene.
I said I should shut up now.
Hi. Oh, wow.
Shut up.
Anyway, we don't have time today, so let me get straight to, before I get straight to topics we're going to be reacting to today, please subscribe to Page 6 TV on YouTube, like this video, comment, share as well, and yeah. So let's get straight to business. So the Nigerian Defence Academy in Afaka, Kaduna State was attacked in the early hours of Tuesday at about 1:30 a.m. by a large number of suspected Fulani bandits, or according to the military, unknown gunmen. Yeah, that was strange, So for those that do not know, the Nigerian Defence Academy is a military university based in Kaduna that trains officer cadets for commissioning into one of the three services of the Nigerian Armed Forces. Yeah, that is the Army, the Navy, and Air Force. Yep, education. So the attackers reportedly kidnapped one military officer, shot two other officers dead, and injured one other. There was no report, however, of any of the attackers shot dead or even injured by military personnel on ground. So reacting on that day, the Academy's public relations officer, Major Bashir Jajira, in a statement said that despite the attack, the kidnap and the killings, and he said, and I quote, "The NDA community and cadets are safe in the academy. We assure the general public that these unknown gunmen would soon be apprehended and abducted, and the abducted personnel rescued." So as at today, there's no arrest and there's no rescue. So first of all, I just want us to talk about this attack on the Nigerian Defence Academy. This is not police station again. These are not the streets of villages in the north as we have seen in recent times. This is an attack right now on the army, as far as I'm concerned.
The armed forces, actually.
On the armed forces, everything joined together, Abi. So I don't know what you guys think this actually means to the security situation and the insecurity in Nigeria right now. Yeah, whoever want to go first.
So it's very worrisome, and it's not just because of the NDA. You see, Kaduna is technically the headquarters of the Nigerian Army.
Yes.
Apart from the NDA, we also have the Jaji cantonment, where training for more senior officers occurs. You get now the location of the NDA in Kaduna is a bit secluded. I will not call it secluded.
Does it matter? Does it matter the location?
I'm trying to build on something. Now it's on the way to the airport. Do you understand? Now these are critical infrastructure, and even from the NDA to it's a bit of a distance to the government house itself. These institutions are strategically positioned in Kaduna State. Yeah. You understand? The fact that, how was it put, Seth? A large number of suspected unknown gunmen could break into how many of us know what it feels like to enter a military barracks?
Does it matter that they use unknown gunmen in this circumstance when other attacks in the north have been bandits, whatever bandits? I think in the east they use unknown gunmen.
I think the narrative, however the army wants to, the armed forces wants to play it, or the Nigerian Defence Headquarters wants to play it, is left to them. The truth of the matter is that your Defence Academy, the security of it was breached. Yeah. Officers shot dead, and another kidnapped. You understand? And then you're coming out now to tell people that no, everybody's safe and sound. That's not true. Wow. I think it is a reflection of the complete collapse of the security structure in Nigeria. You know, we've talked about this several times, and it looks as if these things have been building up, you understand, to get to a particular point. This is a critical point. This is a message to our armed forces. Do your worst, basically. That's the way I'm seeing it. And I don't think it is right for the executive, I would say, because this is their responsibility, for the executive to sit back like that while armed forces are being decimated in the field and decimated at home. You understand? It's not just NDA that is in that place. There's a military barracks as well close to it. Do you know what it means that these plans were this attack was planned, executed, and successfully basically concluded without any distance? So it means there's no rapid response, there's no quick response from our armed forces, even in their own domain. So what is actually going on in the field?
Mr. Wale,
this attack is huge. It's very huge, and I think it's an effort of the Nigerian security. Like, this is very unfortunate, no doubt, that even as of now, there are no arrests.
No arrests.
And I noticed that this attack was very deliberate and well contrived to send a message. If you look at it critically, it's to send a message, and I hope that those who the message was meant for decoded it, because this is not ordinary. You know, for you, this is not even about ransom. It's not about ransom. We're talking about kidnap, abduction,
killing.
Yeah,
of a trained officer. You know what it means?
You know, it says a lot, and it's sad because in the past weeks we've actually we've had some gains in terms of the effort that the military has put in. But all this just water everything down the drain again. So it's one attack too many. And then you keep to ask yourself, like, okay, so where do we go from here? You understand? We've tried to, every Nigerian has been very worried about this attack, because if it can happen there, then it's safe.
Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe.
Us.
Yeah. You know?
You understand? You know that feeling when you're somewhere and you see somebody in military man, put on that uniform. You have that sense of security. It's no longer there. It's getting eroded gradually. So I think for me, it's a very, very, even though I feel that, yes, it was reported, but I feel a lot of analysis has not been done to look at the cause and the implication, not only for us in Nigeria, even for us in the community of nations internationally. How are we perceived? Does it take us serious where that kind of thing is happening in that particular location? I think it says a lot. And for me, when you have someone, as we read, that around the person in charge of the CCTV slept off or something like that.
But they said it didn't slip off. So all those details, I tried not to even get. I feel like all those things were so flimsy, so I didn't pay attention to them. I even heard that there was a broken fence. Like, all those things don't matter. Yeah.
On the part of those who are meant to protect that institution.
But even, sorry, can I?
Wait, Mr. Wale. Realistically speaking, though, is it possible, for invaders to enter that? We have seen the picture of that premise. For you to enter and they didn't shoot one person. To me, it does not make sense at all. You didn't shoot even one person.
It is guerrilla warfare. And normally, the security setting of our armed forces domain, wherever it is that they are, there's someone on sentry. There are people in the security house. That's what I mean by someone on sentry. There's someone that is armed and ready to shoot at all times, at all times.
We see defense headquarters here now. You can't smell it.
Defense headquarters is too much. Barracks, any barracks that you go to. You understand? Any barracks that we go to.
Another version I heard, let me just say, somebody said maybe the soldiers that were killed and the one that was kidnapped, or maybe the one that was kidnapped, has some information that some people up there trying to, I don't know, because the attack does not make sense. I think among ourselves, we're trying to make it make sense.
So, you know, in the efforts to make it make sense without taking us too far, a statement was made during this week about certain people in office knowing the sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria, and certain groups of people protesting at certain points in time, telling their leaders, their elders to come out and say who these people are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I feel like if you put that side by side with this type of brazen attack,
there's something that's definitely hidden.
There's more than actually meets the eye.
Anyway, let's move on. We don't have time today. So President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday, after over 24 hours, like we had to put a news up on Wednesday morning to say that the president has not spoken 24 hours after. So in the afternoon, so he finally released a statement through his special advisor on media and publicity, that's Femi Adesina, condemning the attack. And I'm just going to read whatever the president said here. So whatever. So the president said, according to Femi Adesina, that, in quote, the attack launched on the facility of the NDA on Tuesday, rather than throw a dampener into the morale of our armed forces, as it is intended to, will buoy their determination to make a decisive end of criminality in the country. So he went on to say that, noting that the attack, which led to loss of lives, came at a time that the military had put insurgents, bandits, kidnappers, and other types of criminals on retreat. The president says the heinous action would accelerate the total uprooting of evil in the polity, which members of the armed forces are solidly resolved to accomplish in the shortest possible time. So I left this last paragraph because, this was important. So he said, commiserating with the families who lost their loved ones and praying to God to comfort them, President Buhari vowed that the deceased would not die in vain, as the degenerate act would have consequences that will eventually clean the country of vermin and emancipate the polity from deliberate, targeted, and contrived atrocious acts. So I've noticed that there's a pattern here, because when the former COAS, the Chief of Army Staff, died and the other guys crashed on the plane, the presidency released a statement saying that they have paid the ultimate sacrifice that will lead to the end of insurgency and blah, blah, blah. So him saying here as well that the death of these guys and the invasion of the NDA, I think they did not even address the gravity of what this means, so you just put it that, this will not lead to the end of criminality in Nigeria, these people are not going to die in vain, so this will boost the morale. Do you think this will be, first of all, let's talk about the fact, Mr. Well, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Why do you think is a good look that the presidency took over 24 hours to respond to something as crucial?
I feel within 24 hours, there were some certain news that should be out already to show seriousness on the part of government. Like, we have put X, Y, Z in place, and we are waiting for further intelligence reports.
So teams have been deployed and whatnot.
I've seen reports where people say, imagine this NDA, this was attacked somewhere in the east. What happened?
Exactly.
So when you look at all that comments and what is going on, then you begin to worry. Like, okay, is there something we don't know? The government doesn't want us to know yet as a grand plan. So the president has said, well, the disease will not do the people who were attacked will not die in vain. So I'd like to see, I don't want a blanket statement, I'd like to see what actions from there. What are those things that would make those people who have lost loved ones and people there and say, okay, you know what, while we're breathing, at least we're saying something on the other side. And I don't think we really need to wait till we have 1, 3, 4-5 attack to boost the morale of the military.
Exactly.
So I feel, does that not even demoralize them?
Yeah.
Because I know some of them so cannot even make sense of what's going on in the dark here. So only a very few of them can. So I feel it's just confusing. The more you look at it, the more your confusion sets in, like what's really going on in this country.
Okay. Reaction to President's statement?
Yes, so for me, it doesn't matter when the president says whatever he wants to say. It will be the same thing. He'll be shocked, he'll be terrified, and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, that's why it does not matter.
Yeah, that's why it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Because on the normal day, it's supposed to matter.
It's supposed to. What I want to add to what Wale is saying, 2 points very quickly. One, that is a university. So look at it as if we are training the leaders of our military, tomorrow's leaders of Nigeria's military.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Now, just like every other school setting in the north that has come under heavy threat.
Yeah.
Kaduna, we've had about two or three kidnappings from schools. You understand? It is happening across the whole north. It is showing that whatever it is that we have structurally is not working. The southern part of Kaduna is being attacked. We saw about 2 attacks this week. You understand? And then another one, NDA is technically northern Kaduna. You understand? Now, these things are one too many. That's one on one side. Secondly, this is the military that we are hoping would lead us towards some level of free and fair elections in 2023. We are far from what is the required minimum. We are far from it. Understand this picture. You cannot protect yourself in your own house. Yes, you cannot protect the people you cannot fight the insurgents in the field. You can't protect the people in their homes. How would you gather them for elections? How would you gather them for elections? Because you know already that as much as the international community wants to say reduce the level of military involvement in elections, the military is always there to maintain peace and security of the people. You understand? Now, if this is happening and the president is making this type of statement, because if you see, it is a script from the NDA PRO to the presidency. When NTA talked about this thing, even NTA that they normally give access to tell their own NTA, what do they call it? We're not allowed close to the venue. Everybody got the same statement that was distributed. You understand? So I feel to a very large extent this exposes where we are. Talk about gains as much as you want. This is the truth of where Nigeria's security situation is.
And that's what?
Terrible, very terrible.
All right. Mr. Wale, do you think we'll see to the end of this matter, or do you think it's going to be like every other, that there's not going to be an ending? And if there's no end to this, my end means, okay, who are the criminals here? Who attacked? You have called them unknown gunmen. Are we going to know who really those people are and why they attacked?
Someone made one of those statements I listened to earlier. Someone said, our problem in Nigeria is not even religion. It's not even ethnicity, anything. I was like, why? He said, do you know the problem we have in Nigeria? We have the elite and poor class. You either belong to any of those two.
Any of the two.
If you belong to the elite, right, in their attempt to get more money, seek power, they introduce religion, they introduce all those things to make sure. So if you look at it, if you just suppose what's happening with all these attacks, right? You will see that there's a pattern. At some point, it seems like the gladiator ceasefire, maybe when there's nothing to negotiate about, suddenly then you just start saying, so it's not a regular attack that you say, okay, like what's happening in Afghanistan, it's something that is like for every reaction, for every action is a reaction.
Exactly.
If one policy, if I don't like it, I'm going to do something. So, and in that kind of situation, it's very difficult for you to even predict or make assertions because this thing happens, it's like pay as you go. Once something doesn't favor wherever the power block, then they do something to destabilize the nation. So, you might say there might not be an end in sight, but it won't go on forever. These people will come, they will go.
Hopefully, though. Hopefully. Anyway, let's move. So the president of the 9th Senate, Senator Ahmad Lawan, has exposed... What's that?
Sorry, nothing. I'm just joking.
Yeah, Henry is becoming rude, yeah. So, has exposed the continuous refusal of federal government agencies to remit their internally generated revenues to the Federation account. The Senate President spoke on Monday after meeting with President Buhari at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa in Abuja while interacting with State House correspondents. So, he said this, and I quote, there are so many agencies of government that are not remitting their internally generated revenues, and this is something that we have to address as swiftly as possible and as quickly as possible, because we need to find a way of reducing the borrowing that we do. So if there are areas that we can now get revenues that will help us reduce the amount of borrowing, then so be it. And this is something that we all agree with Mr. President, that we should continue to look at those areas that we need to improve on, revenue generation and collection. I felt like this was a great look for the Senate President that most times most Nigerians call a rubber stamp, you know, so to see him speaking, you know, somewhat against the government, but really for the government and for the people, because when you're complaining that agencies are not remitting, that's not really, is it really against the government? Obviously for the government.
It's not.
Yes, so Henry Kwa, why do you think, I thought President Buhari, one of his achievements or whatever is that he has put a structure in place where there are no leakages anymore. You know, so when I hear the Senate President coming out to say that government agencies are not remitting, I'm confused. So what's really going on? Because if you're not remitting, you're stealing it. So this clearly saying that government agencies are looting this money and they're stealing the funds. So address this though, and like speak on whether is there a structure that checks this.
There is.
Yeah, why is it not?
So I'm going to start scathingly again. It is another representation of failure, because
failure on the part of who?
On the part of the government. Failure as a result of incompetency. Now, when the federal government came in 2015, one of the very first policies it implemented was the TSA, the Treasury Single Account. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now, the mandate on that Treasury Single Account was that any money that even NTA, FRCN, anybody who is any government agency receiving money will go through that Treasury Single Account. Yeah. You understand? Now, the idea of that is that we have given you your budget for operation. You understand? You are working on our behalf. When you do your work, any money that is coming to you comes straight to our account. It is from that money now that will give you allocation for the next month. Let's say for the next month. You understand? Now, as with every other thing, we relied on body language for that to happen. You know, banks were immediately told to close every other account of every government agency and stick to that Treasury Single Account, meaning only remitter was allowed to process payments for, you understand?
Which also we're fighting against and stuff.
Which they fought against. Now, with this background in mind, this is what, this was the win as far as people that were looking at President Buhari to fight corruption. This was the win that he had secured. Years down the line, 5 years down the line, it is obvious that even that was just talk. There was no action. You understand? For government agencies to withhold funds, and now it's not as if they're just withholding funds. They have a process where they talk to the auditors. This is what we've made. This is what we have sent into this thing. The auditors will now cross-check. You understand? So
is that one happening? I beg.
Well, it is part of what is coming out. If you remember last week, we discussed the Auditor General's report. You get it is that season. You get, and forgive me for linking this to elections again. Yeah, forgive me, but I'm saying this because there's a tradition.
How does this one concern election?
Yes, let me explain now. Yeah. There's a tradition where public office holders make humongous donations during campaigns. You understand? Now, Lawan is complaining that we have been borrowing. The reason why the Senate President can complain that we have been borrowing excessively is because the infrastructure needle is not moving. You understand? You are borrowing so much. You're claiming that you want to invest in infrastructure, but infrastructure is not moving. Do you understand? Now, where that is not happening, it is important that you plug it. Okay, a very, very simple scenario. Very simple scenario. You have 100 naira in your pocket. You know what your priorities are for that day. That's the only money that you have for that day. You understand? Now, instead of stopping yourself from using the 100 naira to buy some frivolous thing, you decide to buy that frivolous thing and go out to borrow money at high interest rates. You understand? Increasing the burden on yourself. Now, whenever you have money, you cannot go back and fix that your priority. You have to. Your priority becomes the person that you owe money to. You understand? That's what That's what Lawan is talking about. And to be honest, I'm proud of him that he came out and told pressmen this.
I think we're all shocked.
Initially, I was like, he sent that to the president. You understand? Because of his
he spoke to the president.
Yeah, because of his willingness. Because of his willingness to hear the government.
Because the burden is always on them, that they are always approving these money. So I felt like got to the point
so
where
it's
he
not
had
just
to speak out.
No, it's not just about that. Yeah, it's not just about that. There are three arms of government, with their own powers, with their own autonomies. You get what I'm saying? Lawan, having seen what happened in the last administration, felt the only way to gain real progress. I'm sure he must be thinking twice about that now. He felt the only way to gain real progress was to not be too cynical about the policies and the requests that the executive is making. You understand? So it was more like, we'll hear you out, we'll give you reasonable, we'll listen to you, give you all the belief that you need. But it is obvious that belief is running out. You understand? Because we are facing a very serious problem. Let's not forget again that when Buhari was the head of PTF, we had missing monies. You understand? Monies that were not remitted, and he said it was all him.
Responsible for government agencies not remitting the money.
Yes, he is, because the policy that you have fixed, you have not set up an institution to hold that policy tight. You understand what I'm saying? If you fixed TSA, have you instructed the Auditor General's office to ensure that everything is done through the TSA? Have you done that?
All right, Mr. Wale. Yeah, so what I want to ask you, specifically, is there a way these agencies can be compelled, to remit? Is there a structure that's put in place for them to actually remit? And if they don't remit, is there any punitive measure? Yes. Because I know we don't function except there's like punishment and
Yeah, I think it's a good move by the Senate President. And we need to understand the difference between embezzlement and mismanagement. Right? That's frivolous spending. Okay, so in fact, this not remitting money from the ministries, departments, and agencies of government, it actually violates the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 2007, and it's punishable. So you see a situation where in 2021 budget presentation, when this agency of government comes to the National Assembly to present their budgets, the subcommittee is asking them that you need to tell us what happened, how did you spend
your last budget?
How come you are under remitting? So the first question you ask is, if you, for instance, if you accuse the FRS of under remitting, do you know how much exactly was generated? You can't fight a blind war. Do you know how much exactly was generated? You're only saying that, this year they sent in 1 trillion against last year or last administration where they sent in 3 trillion or something. So we're just, the National Assembly, they have the power of oversight. And when you approve a budget for somebody, it doesn't stop there. You have that power. You've been empowered to go all the way to monitor how these funds are spent. You understand? So when you have a situation where this guy do not remit the money as they should, there are procedures. You have the Auditor General, but then again, the issue is, if you take that route again, there are backlog of audit queries.
Exactly.
Or this backlog of...
So where's the way out,
I want to just add to what Wale has said. There's a tradition in this particular government where actions are not punished. Instead, they are celebrated.
They are laughed over rather than celebrated. I think that people just move on, and
I think it's celebrated, Sal, because if you see what happened with the NDDC, the Nigerian Delta Development Commission, what has happened, even the Northeast one as well, with the, what did they call it, Babakir, you understand?
Yeah.
What happened? What has happened with Babakir now? Nothing has happened. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nothing whatsoever has happened. For the NDDC DG, nothing has happened. You get what I'm saying?
It's quite sad. We have over 60 NDAs.
Yeah.
Who are now remitted up to 3 trillion.
Exactly. I used to say to my friends that with all the agencies we have, I always used to give example. I say, okay, let's look at the VIO. We look at the numbers of cars that we have in Nigeria. The cars that you have to register and renew papers every year. Do you know how much they're actually supposed to raise? Because my argument is that if these remittances were actually done properly, strictly, and every leakage is actually really blocked, Nigeria is not supposed to have any business borrowing money, as far as I'm concerned. See, right now, even to renew papers, they have doubled it, 50% increments and all, whatever they did recently. And there are several other agencies. We have customs, we have immigration, that get a lot of money. So I don't know, that's what I was really asking you. Is there a way, so, okay, you're supposed to remit. How do we ensure that you remit? Because if we don't ensure that you remit, they will not remit though. Technology. So if there's no way, it's one thing for you to make noise about it or bring it to our attention. So what next? Are we just going to talk about it and everybody moves on? Because I've heard the Senate president complain many times that he invites heads of these agencies. They don't even come. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. So Big Brother Naija Star, Dorathy Bachor. Is it Bachor or Bachor? I don't know. Bachor. Henry Kwa, a Big Brother watcher?
Yeah, for this season.
Is it Bachor or Bachor?
I don't know. I never watched when she was in the house.
Okay, you didn't watch. So, Big Brother Naija superstar Dorathy Bachor on Monday. Yes, she's a superstar. Raised an alarm that operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission allegedly broke into her apartment. So, you guys say I should not read all these things. Yeah, so I'm telling them. They say I should not read the whole details of Dorothy's statement. Yeah, so she complained that she ran downstairs almost half naked. Yeah, and saw EFCC. I wanted to read those details. She said she saw 3 EFCC men in her apartment. They broke into her apartment. Yes, yeah, wait now. Those details were important though, because I know in Lagos, a lot of people have complained, especially people in hotels. They complain that EFCC people just break into their rooms. And this one, they broke into her apartment because when they released their own statement, they did not deny that they broke into her apartment. The only thing they said, which was still conflicting though, they said they were knocking the door, that if they had waited, the suspect will run away. But her statement said that when they met her inside, they told that they are looking for people within the block of flats, that she should remain inside and not say anything. They did not say that they arrested anybody in her apartment. So the thing was not making sense to me. Okay, so why did you break in? Because I spoke to my EFCC Connect. I was trying to get more details to see how do you guys really operate. Lots of people have been complaining that you guys break into their houses or you break into hotel rooms. He tried to justify it, whatever they said here was what he said as well, where they feel like if they should give you a little bit of notice, especially for the Yahoo boys, you can destroy evidence, but in Dorothy's case, there was nobody you were looking for inside the house. You were looking for somebody in the block or flat. You were not sure the person was in a house. And they really broke down her door though, but he said another thing he said to me as well. He said that the amount of power that they actually have, they do not even exercise half of it.
Anyway. Power, not physical power, institutional power.
No, but he said the power that they have from the law. The law gives them so much power. But the thing is that Nigerians are not aware. That's why when they operate the way they operate, we get confused. But she still said, okay, ignorance of the law is not an excuse anyway. So one thing she said as well, still on their modus operandi. She talked about the fact that the mother suffered panic attack, which is something that could be real. No, I'm just saying, even if she did not, but that could be real. Imagine you break into a home where somebody really has like heart issues. You have an aged parent there, and EFCC just breaks in like that and the person suffers nervous whatever. Normally in law, you're supposed to be able to sue civilly, but under this case, what if the person dies?
In Nigeria, they'll tell you sorry if at all.
Anyway, you guys should react to the Dorathy thing,
No, I think if they have a valid search and arrest warrants, right, and you refuse them access or entry, they have the right to break into your apartment.
Yeah, but they were not looking for somebody inside the house.
So that's what I'm saying. So if you look at that situation,
they
were looking for somebody
in the block.
Okay, the question again: did they target the Dorathy girl? She was not. I don't think she may have deliberately targeted if they felt they was not going to get anything from her.
Because there was even that surprise when the EFCC guy
saw half
naked Dorathy. It's a problem.
I run into this compound. I'm looking for Mr. Sal, but I got into someone else's house.
And break the door.
I feel someone ran there, and if I don't break that door because I have the warrant search and all that, you might destroy evidence.
But sorry, I want to understand something.
Break down your door.
When you're not very sure that the person is in that house.
I want to understand something, guys.
There's a reason why.
From that warrant,
you need to break their apartment. Maybe if I see someone run into this kitchen and I'm not sure whether they went here or this direction, I'm going to break all the doors down.
And she will fix the door by herself.
The problem. If you don't like that approach, then let's move to change the law. That's the only way. Let's move to amend the law. If you don't want them to, because the law empowers them to do this. So if you don't want them to do this, let us clamor and change the law. That's the only solution to this. No amount of emotional blackmail, sentiment, half naked, murder, that attack, this can whip up enough public sympathy.
But another thing I used to attack, not really attack, but I'm like, okay, this energy that you guys are putting towards these young guys doing Yahoo, I'm not condoning, but I'm like, I don't see you guys putting this energy when it comes to arresting the politicians, because he clearly said to me that when it comes to politicians, they send them an invitation, and you can write back to tell them that you can even make it on the set day, that you can come on this certain time, and that will be fine by then.
Civility in Nigeria is bought with money.
There are two different things, right? If someone's going to allege me of corruption and they feel maybe I've embezzled some money based on if they have access to my account or not, they can come to arrest me at home, right? They can also extend invitation if they are not sure.
If there are some things they need you to clarify.
Yes, they will extend invitation.
So when it comes to the Yahoo boys, when they are not sure.
When it comes to the Yahoo boy that you're talking about, so these other guys are profiled. Unfortunately, they are the elite and they are profiled. If you want to get, I don't want to start mentioning names, if you want to get the former governor of the state, you know the proper place to go. They are profiled. Even when they are traveling out, you know their itinerary and all that. But these young guys, erratic in nature, they are here today, they are not here tomorrow. They are here today, you don't find them. Some of them have even, someone you see that should be looking for maybe last location was in the Republic. And just get wind that the guys in the country,
what I want
to send a letter of an invitation to such person. Come on.
Exactly what you said right now is exactly what the EFCC guy said to me yesterday.
What I want to get very clear, when search warrants are given, are they given for blocks of flats?
Let me clarify one thing.
Of those?
Let me clarify a preview information he shared to me as well. Their ID cards are warrants.
Okay.
Yes.
So the moment an EFCC man shows me his ID card, he has access.
Yes.
I'm supposed to allow him search.
Yes. The cyber unit.
That's what I said. There's a lot of
their ID cards. Like he showed it to me. He was like, let me just give you privy information. Our ID card is a warrant. Yeah.
This is fantabulous.
It's crazy. I'm like, we don't, it's just that people don't know. Like, even myself was like confused. I'm like, people don't know like the powers of the EFCC. The powers that they have given them to operate is worse than police.
It'll be good. It'll be... Okay, well.
Anyway, let's bounce still on EFCC. So the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdulrasheed Bawa, has ordered all banks in the country to henceforth investigate the sources of income of their customers in a bid to reduce corruption. The EFCC chairman gave the directive on Tuesday when members of the Association of Chief Audit Executives of Banks in Nigeria paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja. So he said, and I quote, so he said, I would like to urge you to know your customers, know the kind of businesses they do before opening an account for them. Because some customers will open an account within a space of 2 months, a huge sum of money is found in their account. So there's need for you to try and query this information, including their linked accounts. So he stated also that the EFCC will start holding banks liable for fraud in financial deposits where there are established cases of complicity in the sector from September 1, 2021. Do you guys think this is okay? From the reactions I got to this, so people are like, oh, is the EFCC trying to give the banks their jobs right now to investigate customers? You know, do you guys applaud this move, or do you think Abdulrasheed Bawa is bored? This commendable.
I feel it's only creating awareness.
Awareness.
It's part of the jurisdiction, in my opinion. What I mean, so I think it was a courtesy call, right?
Yeah, but when you're saying from September 1, the banks will now be liable, that's no longer just a courtesy call.
Yes, so the thing here is, we all know the process it takes to open an account in Nigeria. In fact, when you open a corporate account for your company, you have to go through the process of filling the form. As this called SCSC. It has to talk about what you do. It's even an EFCC form.
It is a prerequisite for a lot of organizations.
I have not opened an account recently.
So if you fill that form and you submit, then the EFCC will have to send a signal to the bank to say the person has successfully completed that registration stage, and then your account is active. You can have.
So what's this one that is talking about now?
In fact, so for me, and there's even, that's what I said, I feel is a mere suggestion. Because there's even the NFIU, Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, whose statutory role is to
conduct this check.
So why is he saying that? Because holding the banks liable, he has said that they will implement that.
He has plans to meet with the CBN, meet with the NFIU, and sit down to say, okay, I think we need to do. Other than that, I don't think this has the full weight of the law. I mean, in our opinion.
Okay.
I just want to add that it looks as if Bawa is power drunk, but knowing the administration he serves under, it will make sense that such a high-level delegation went to see him. This is not the first time he's saying this thing. He said it when he assumed office about 2 weeks after he had assumed office. You understand? Now, for this Association of Chief Audit Executives of Banks in Nigeria, it is a very high-level delegation to go and visit him and try to clarify issues with him. Yeah, I feel he's trying to, exert whatever power that comes with the eagerness to do the job. You understand? I pray he's successful. I really pray that he's successful. But this is just
another thing I wanted us to.
This is just crazy.
Or I want us to talk about.
It can go anyway.
We are seeing. You said he's power drunk. Yeah. Okay. I still thought about this as well. The power drunkenness, is he limited to ordinary Nigerians? Exactly. These are the things we have seen about jumping up and down. And I was looking at him when they appointed him. They removed Magu. In my opinion, I felt like Magu was working. This was Magu was doing at the beginning. Magu was this that, and I felt like Magu was even doing the job more than even.
Just wait.
Wait. I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere. I feel like Rashid Bawa is going against, is going after the people more than the people we know, not feel, the people that we know are the real corrupt people in this country, because his hands are tied. Yeah, I'm not seeing him really move towards people that we expect him to move towards. I'm not seeing him move towards like that. And
I'm surprised when as Nigerians we plant meat and expect to harvest.
No, that's where I wanted to.
Right?
Yeah, wait.
you look at the process, how these guys are appointed.
Exactly.
You don't have a situation where if it was the National Assembly who decides to screen people who doesn't have to come from the police department and say they screen them, then who is paying, who is funding that organization? Are they independent?
Exactly.
So if you don't have all of that, obviously.
Yes, Mr. Willie, that brings us to that topic. How do we get the heads of these bodies? We've talked about the INEC one on one of our episodes, like the EFCC now. This is supposed to be an independent body. These guys should be able to function. APC, PDP, any politician is supposed to be able to track them down.
How are they independent agency? They're not INEC.
No, it's supposed to be. When I say independent, it's supposed to not be loyal to. It's not supposed to be partisan. For example, let's give an example how it's appointed right now. You are appointed by the president, so automatically, and the way we are in Nigeria, you have to be loyal to the president and his allies. So we change what?
Until we change that mode.
Yes. So what do you suggest how do we now appoint these guys?
I will have to.
What do we change it to? Yeah.
Okay, so you have to devolve power, right? In the sense that you have to so do you think the presidency would gladly want anyone to take away that agency from them? That's one thing. If they do agree, they can now start the process of making them an independent institution.
So we're stuck.
For now.
No, but I feel I don't quite agree that they're not independent
They are
to the letter.
not independent.
I think they are.
Henry,
If I remember,
please.
I'll have to.
Let me hear.
I'll
Make
have
I
to
hear
try
your
and
argument.
clarify. I'll have to clarify this.
1 minute.
But I believe that the EFCC to a large extent is what do they call it? Independent in the execution of its powers and in its own operation. And is history? I think there's something in history to explain this. To explain this. Before Magu, there was what do they call it? There was Ribadu. After Ribadu, there was Lamode. Do you understand? These guys have worked for government agencies that have probed government
Mahmoud,
people.
there was Jega that Goodluck allowed to function. So, are you independent when you are allowed to be independent, or are you really independent because you're really independent?
So if you
Please
look
make this thing make sense. Because what you're giving right now, you're giving examples of where these people were allowed to function.
That's what brings me.
Exactly.
If I give him the power,
Exactly.
Carte blanche.
And that's you giving. Yeah.
You say he's working. You say he's independent.
Yeah.
But then if you have somebody else who doesn't do the job well, as you say he's the same. He's not being independent enough to.
So, but we've seen that the issue with Nigeria is not that we don't have the laws. It's not that we don't have the provisions for these things. So, you understand? It is not that. It is the fact that anybody who comes is above the law. Anybody who assumes the office of the executive automatically becomes above the law and can switch government agencies, government institutions to do whatever they feel like.
I disagree with what you said right now, because I feel like we don't have the right laws as well. Because when we're talking earlier, you said if you want to see change, then we should go and change the law. Because the law still is what is making you say the executive acts the way the executive acts. I think some of these things need to be changed. If the process of appointing the EFCC chairman, for example, is changed by changing the law, I feel we will see a big difference where the presidency or the executive no longer has to appoint an EFCC chairman or an INEC chairman, and they can go there and function however they want to function, knowing that you cannot take me out of power the way Magu was taken out of power.
Let's use an example of an institution in Nigeria that is truly independent, the National Assembly.
Huh?
How have they fared? Yes, the National Assembly is independent.
Henry, but that one does not join this
It
kind
does.
of thing we're talking
It
about.
does.
I don't
That's what
think
I'm trying to
I
explain.
don't think you can compare the National Assembly with EFCC and INEC.
Yes, you can.
You cannot compare
It
National
is
Assembly with
autonomy we are
INEC.
discussing.
though.
It is autonomy we are discussing.
I'm talking about how they function.
No, sir,
And
you're
what-
failing to understand something. Autonomy is autonomy, irrespective of institution.
Mr. Wale,
Autonomy is autonomy, irrespective
will
of
you
institution.
compare the National Assembly and somewhere like
Don't even
INEC?
use the National Assembly.
INEC.
Use the judiciary. Use the judiciary.
I will never still use the
Does the presidency
judiciary.
appoint? Does the presidency appoint the judges at the federal high courts?
But they control the money for the judiciary.
As with everything, they are not supposed to, but they do. That's what I'm saying. The law has already stated very clearly that these arms of government are autonomous. But we already have a group of leaders that always want to.
Practically, though, Henry Okwa, you appoint
Even if you
EFCC,
set the law today,
But wait,
and you hire this same type of leaders, they will do the same thing.
No,
that's the
but
system.
in a position or in a situation where the presidency or the executive does not hire the INEC chairman and the EFCC chairman, I have to use those two. Those two are very important. You know, I don't think they can go there and do anything against them. I don't feel so, in my opinion. I don't think so. How now? How will you go there? How will you go there? Tell me. How will you?
Let's use
chairman?
the last administration, for example. Yeah.
You're using administrations. I don't think
Because it is the same thing. It is the same thing. The law itself is not going to stop the politicians from doing what they want to do.
Anyway,
they want to control all of these things.
Let's
That's
get
what I'm
on.
saying.
You can't say the law will stop.
I don't think
You
so.
know why?
Yeah.
So if there are deterrents for actions, if there are consequences for actions, then of course, okay, when you travel, do you think our leaders will travel outside of the country? They don't violate this law. Why do you think so? Why do you think they don't do that?
Well, this is the point that I'm trying to make here. Any law that you set up, without the institution itself being able to handle that law by itself, any law that you set up in Nigeria is breakable. We've seen it several times. We've seen agreements between government and people broken. We've seen government decrees. We've seen the things that government has said several times. They themselves flout those things. So what makes you think that when it comes to EFCC, that is even very critical? Very, very critical. Anybody who comes to office wants to say, I'm fighting corruption. What are the two agencies to fight corruption? ICPC and EFCC. Do you understand what I'm saying?
You don't have control over them.
So, it is not about removing control from the government.
But
Do you
what happened
understand?
to Marco? I don't know whether you're sleeping on that Marco's issue.
Margo's issue was more dynamic than this. Margo's issue was more dynamic.
Henry, we don't have time. Yeah, so let's just finish. To be honest. Yeah. So the leadership of the National Association of Resident Doctors in Nigeria stated that it would not assent to any memorandum of understanding brokered by the Nigeria Medical Association to end its 3-week-old strike, calling on its members instead to start applying for jobs in other countries that value their lives and services. So, the association's vice president, Dr. Arome Adejo, specifically in an interview with Sunday Punch, said, and I quote, there is no hope for the strike being called off. They are still on strike till tomorrow. We are tired of going back to our members with empty promises. In fact, we are not signing any memorandum of understanding with them. We have signed countless number of memorandums, and we are not going to do that again until they do what they are meant to do. We implore our members to look for other options. Saudi Arabia is looking for doctors. They are conducting interviews next week. Let them go, sit for interview, and get out of the country. So, first of all, this thing with the doctors has gone on for so long, you know. I'm beginning to think, or it's beginning to be obvious, that there's no value for the medical doctors. I don't know why, you know, these guys have made a demand. And I think it's very telling because you always speak on the competency or incompetency of the government, you know, because they've met with these people several times. They have made them promises. These guys believed them and they called off their strikes, and the government will not fulfill. You know, the government will not fulfill, and we're supposed to be in a pandemic. Not just in a pandemic, we have insecurity. You know, I heard even, I think in Plateau, today, I saw it in the news today, the NARD tried to call off the strike there so that the doctors can attend to victims.
And we are actually...
and that's them. That's not even the federal government saying, let us now give these people what they want right now because there's an emergency. So I don't know what the government...
as well. There's cholera that is raging in across the country. But every state now has been covered.
They don't give a damn. I'm like, what is it that these guys are asking for? First of all, hazard allowance. They say increase it from 5,000. Increase this thing from 5,000. Is it so difficult? Anyway, what do you guys have to say to this one before we close? I don't know.
I think if it was that easy.
And we saw videos of the doctors now going to write the interview on Tuesday, queuing up. Very shameful, and nobody cares.
It just reminds you of that as well. I feel if it was very easy, direct, and straightforward, the government would have acceded to their demand. There's always more to it that we
don't know.
Outside do not always see.
But I think we should not. I'm sorry for interjecting here. I think we should not place the emphasis on that. We are talking about lives. Human lives. You understand? It doesn't matter whether there's more to it.
That more should never be that important.
With respect to who looks more credible in this their debates that they are having.
Yes.
The actions from the action from NARD in Plateau State. Is showing that the doctors want to do their job.
Exactly.
You understand? It's showing that they can see the emergencies and they would like to respond to those
even
emergencies.
If their demands have not even been met.
But it looks as if this is the same. Let's not forget that this is the same administration that has told doctors before to go and learn sewing.
Let's forget all that.
No. Do you think we should forget it if?
For fact for a reason.
Yeah.
No, that was a fact. That was, Isaac Adekini said it now.
Yes.
We've had the Minister of Labour as well say that Nigeria can export doctors. So we've seen that as well.
No, I think it's just the government officials really speaking recklessly.
That's exactly
what
I'm saying. Don't hold them to that.
Okay.
Let's look at the cost of the matter.
Okay.
You understand? Now, in all of this, I completely agree that our doctors deserve a better condition, right? But to say that the government has not done enough for them, I think it's a false narrative. You ask me, good. So, education in Nigeria to begin with is highly subsidized. And if without that government heavy subsidy, now I'll tell you where the problem is, where I'm going to.
Okay.
Without that heavy subsidy, there's no way you can even graduate as a doctor. Not talk of striking and everything. And these doctors that you see, the medical personnel, they earn, in fact, they are the only cadre who in the public sector, they earn better than the people in the private sector. They usually enter from grade level 12, while graduates from other disciplines enter from maybe level 9, level 8, and to take you approximately 9 years to get to that first step where the doctors are.
But do they not deserve it?
We're not talking about. Okay. So now we're agreeing that this is what.
Even from NYC, what we used to say is that they pay doctors, because me as a lawyer, we're like they pay doctors more than us, and we would do 5 years or whatever. So
really wrong.
What's wrong?
All of this. Now, it's sad, and this is the real reason why these guys consistently go on strike, right? So when you look at all of this, it's really sad when a doctor in Nigeria calls his colleague in the US and the UK and they tell you how much they get paid. That's where the problem is. When you put down the scale, that is where the problem is. Now, government is saying they are not able to meet up with that. But then again, in these developed countries we talk about, you know how much it costs for education. From your beginning till you graduate, you might pay well over £40,000. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is that developed nations have gone beyond the approach that we're adopting here. We're highly subsidizing tertiary education, especially universities. Bulk of our budgets, right, on education goes to funding tuition-free universities, which should not be. Let people pay, right? Provide scholarship for people. Let people pay what is commensurate with the degree that they want to study. Then channel the resources. That's the only way we can have it.
Mr. Wale, let me tell you.
Doctors cannot get well paid. Your hospitals are, they have the modern facilities and all. If we do not change that approach, we will continue negotiating to go back to work, to come back and strike. And for how long?
Yeah. Mr. Wale, let me tell you one thing that they complain about, because I have a doctor friend that gives me their real life complaints. Like for example, during the pandemic last year, these guys were asking for PPEs. We saw doctors, even in America, wherever, die from COVID. These guys lost some of their colleagues and it hurt them. Some of them were not given PPEs, and they told them to go and treat these patients like that. Go and risk your life and go and die on the field like that. That's really unfair. So these are some of the things. It's mostly welfare. Most of the things they're asking for are welfare packages. If the government does not feel that the welfare of doctors based on the kind of jobs that they do is important.
Welfare is just a part of the bigger pie. And I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to a pandemic where nobody had no contract experience before, and we saw that first few weeks how a face mask that we get for as low as 15 naira was like
face mask that we did not even care about.
You understand? So for that, for a country like Nigeria, I'm not excusing that. You would expect things like that to happen. For a country like Nigeria, where other countries are talking about building ventilators, where we are hoping to get donation from people. I don't know if you understand.
And we got to corruption still enter the one where we get.
When we now see doctors complain, it's something that government will even do to themselves, like shortchange themselves, on things that are beneficial and we feel they should swing into action to get. And then someone is hiding palliative. Some people are at home and see they're not getting anything.
So Mr. Wale, do you think the government should give these doctors whatever they're asking for? How long is this going to drag?
Say whatever. You see, the thing is, if it is a welfare issue it's easy to talk about PPE and all that.
Hazard allowance. That hazard, at least I've seen that hazard one.
Yeah,
increase it now.
They deserve it. But you see the problem we have in Nigeria. Let government increase it now. 4 years down the line, somebody somewhere is clamoring for another increase.
And another thing, though, not to speak against the doctors, though, but their leadership, the leadership of the NARD, are they really fighting for the doctors or they are fighting for themselves? That's another thing I have to think deeply about. Wherever it's going to come out, just like the ASU people, the ASU leadership, were they really fighting for the staff?
So why do you have leadership if you don't believe in the leadership? So the leadership is saying, look, doctor, let's sign this agreement tentatively to see what we can extract from government. And the Nigerian Medical Association are saying that we don't trust.
No, but we're not going to sleep on the part that the federal government made promises to them and they didn't keep their promises. Because previous meetings, they agreed. Why can't you fulfill integrity? This is a government of integrity. Integrity.
Yeah, of course, you can't excuse. That's what I'm saying. There's some certain things you can't excuse. But until you have the full details to say this is what they are demanding for. Okay, look at ASU back then. Telling you that they don't want to be part of the TSA and all that. They have their reason. You might think, that's why I said there's more than meet the eyes. It's easy to run with that narrative to say, ASU doesn't want to use a remitter and all that. There's a reason. So, you know the kind of country where we're in, that it's easy for you to put your money in bank. How easy is it for you to get it back? Now, you have agencies that are generating funds. They are sending it to a single account. When these agencies have emergencies, when they need these funds, do you know the processes they have to go through?
Bureaucracy. Yeah.
Do you know the processes? So
my only submission on this is the fact that this is not an isolated incident. It is government's body language, government's posture to anything that has to do with the common man. This is where I'm going to put it down. If you respect the lives of our people, you will make sure that the police are not killing them. You will make sure that they have security. You will make sure that they have the basic necessities of life to live with some level of dignity as human beings. You understand? But when you do not see those people, when the poor people are only text in your press statement, this is what happens. This is what happens. None of these leaders depend on any of these resident doctors for their healthcare. None of them do. We are the ones who do that. We are the ones who hold these doctors in high esteem. It is because of the pandemic, because of even cholera that is rampaging across all states, all through north, south, east, west. It looks as if it's another pandemic side by side. You understand? If for this alone, these doctors can call off their strike, we'll be very grateful for that. We'll be very grateful for that. But I can assure you that whatever is going to happen with government is going to happen. They do not care. I tried to make that point earlier that a government that will tell you that we can export doctors or doctors should go and learn another trade do not understand. You have over 200 million people and you have 40,000 doctors. You're not thinking. You're not thinking at all. You're not prioritizing them. No. Listen. I'm done.
In River State now, there's only one neurosurgeon. For the first time, she went for a break. 10 years. For the first time in 10 years, she just took her first break.
I hope nobody died.
Now imagine if you have spinal or brain.
Wow, that's weird.
Father have mercy.
So it's a systemic thing. We can go on and on.
We can change the system, or this we can't be giving. Me, I don't even want the excuses anymore. You know, yeah, it's a systemic thing. Yeah.
You understand? Once we accept that, whatever gains we make, we take it along with it and hope that we can build on that.
Wow. Anyway, we have come to the end of this episode. Thank you, guys. That was a quick one, So please like this video, subscribe to Page 36 TV on YouTube, comment. Let us know what you think about all the topics we talked about today. So see you guys next week.